Cool. Welcome everybody. First ever SydAR online meetup. It's only online this time, and then hopefully next month we'll actually have it in person. So if anybody has venues in mind that you'd really like it to be in, or locations you don't want it to be in, where you've been at meetups there before and it was terrible, and you're like, I really hope Patrick doesn't put the SydAR meetup there because it's gonna be bad. Feel free to message me later and just let me know because venue is still up for a debate at the moment, but we'll see how we go. But wanted to start our first ever meeting by quickly welcoming you all. You are all the early pioneers who've jumped in at the start of a very baby child meetup that is only just slightly formed and does not even have a physical meetup yet. So it is appreciated that you're all here. One note, which you would have all gotten, of course, when you open Zoom, which happens like every Zoom call these days, but we are recording you. Just know you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to during this meetup. You don't have to have your mic on if you don't want to. That's totally fine as well. You could literally just spend the entire time in the text chat. That's fine if you're more comfortable just typing in messages and discussions over the text chat instead. We're going to basically go off the approach of just put up your hand in Zoom if you've got something you want to raise while we're going through. Today's going to be pretty much just a lot of introducing each other, getting to know each other a bit, see what's going down, and I'll go through all of that pretty soon. If you do want to share stuff, both now and between now and next month, anything around the meetup or things that might help the meetup, if you see news that you really want me to cover throughout the month and you're like, crap, I hope Patrick sees this because I really want us to share it, or if it's something that you've done, a project you've done, or something that you've written, anything like that, you can always tag it with SydAR so I'll see it on the social medias, or just send me a message as well. Then you know that I'm not going to miss it because I kind of want to cover as much as possible from the community as we can. So what's happening tonight? It's a shorter, more condensed one. We don't have a lineup of speakers or anything. In this one, technically, you are all the speakers, just because we're going to get you all to introduce yourselves. And I feel like just having a meeting where you're all introducing yourselves will probably take up enough time that by the end, we'll be like, cool, we don't really need a speaker. I'll pretty much be the speaker for tonight. But we'll cover what SydAR, kind of important. We'll go through and have some intros as well, just introducing each other, what we're up to, all that sort of stuff. If you're comfortable as well, if you're not comfortable introducing yourself, also don't have to. Just, don't raise your hands, be silently in the background, totally fine. You could always introduce yourself in person at a future meetup when you're comfortable. That's totally fine. Jobs as well. So we're going to cover that, but we're going to try and help folks find jobs or help you find team members or even just people you'd like to help volunteer for something or anything like that. We're kind of going to cover those things. Opportunities. There's only one at the moment that I found, but these are things where it's stuff where maybe you can get a device for free, or you can enter a hackathon, or there's prize money for something. Anything like that that I see each month, I will be sneakily letting you all know so that you know what's kind of coming up. Because as developers and enthusiasts and even just designers, you miss stuff because this stuff kind of comes up and usually the Americans get told about it and us Australians sort of miss out because we don't have things like these meetups where people kind of funnel the information. So I'm hoping this is a really good opportunity for us to start having this information sort of funneled to us from all directions, and I can kind of pass it out to you all. And then you can pass it out to everybody else as well who can't make the meetups or who, are coworkers or interested in AR who can't make it. AR news, this is going to be a big one because it's the first one, and I kind of wanted to cover a ton of stuff that happened, which is over several months, and just kind of get everybody up to speed. But we're going to try and cover that each month, just sort of what's happened in AR news, so that if there's anything you've missed, we'll kind of catch up to speed. Then we're going to have what's on your mind, which is just a nice section about it at the end for if there's anything anybody wants to ask. Any questions about AR, totally fine if you're totally new to AR and you've got questions that you think maybe it's a dumb question, maybe people will know it and you don't really want to ask, because you're worried about what people think. Don't worry about it. Ask it. What's on your mind? Anything you've got questions about, even just things you're curious about in the community. If you're like, hey, has anybody ever done this in Sydney because you're trying to work out something? Or if you've got an idea and you're looking for somebody to help or anything like that, we can bring it up then too. So keep that in mind. And then we're going to wrap up. What is SydAR? That's kind of important. And if I click the buttons in the right direction, it would go to the right next screen. So what I found at the moment with AR in Sydney, and it's been like this for the past few years, is we used to have a whole lot of meetups. They were more around virtual reality, and there was tons of it. And we had so much community stuff going on. Everybody back then, this would have been at least 5-6 years ago, but at that time, we all knew each other because anybody who was active in VR, they were excitedly at meetups. I think there were at least 2 or 3 times where there were multiple VR meetups on at the exact same time as each other because there were so many meetups. We don't really want it to get to that point again. That was a bit too overwhelming and hard to kind of keep track. But we've gone the opposite way now. And I've had a few people, which is sort of how this emerged, asking where the AR community was and whether there were any meetups or gatherings or hackathons or anything. And we didn't really have anything specifically for AR. And so it's sort of just been everybody on their own little islands doing their own thing. There seems to be a lot of stuff going on in Sydney. I haven't found it all yet. And that's one of the kind of goals of this meeting, is that I want to fix that. I want to find everybody. So if there are people out there that don't know about the meeting yet, share the links, let them know, because we kind of want everybody, even if they can't make every meeting, just having a community where everybody sort of knows how to get in touch with each other would be super helpful for us to kind of keep in touch. And we're sort of stronger together if we're all kind of joining forces. So it's basically new community for anyone interested in augmented reality. Doesn't matter whether you work in the industry or you're just curious about AR. You don't have to be an expert in AR. You don't have to be a developer. Just anybody really who wants to know about AR. We're going to have a range of different sorts of people and talks. So it's totally fine. Any skill level, anything you know. Basically, I want to find every single enthusiast, developer, designer, anybody who has an interest in AR, who it could even just be an artist who paired up with developers to make something for like a random council event, things like that, where those people have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of enthusiasm. We kind of want to get to know everybody and get them involved. We do have this one virtual, but in future, hopefully, my own recovery permitting, which seems like it's going to be fine for next month, we're going to have in-person meetups. So I just couldn't do it this month, but next month onwards, we're going to try and be in person. And there are reasons for us being in person. We'll probably still try and stream it over Zoom as well, just because I know sometimes people can't make it. If we do have people who are in like the greater regions of Sydney, like if we start getting people who are in Wollongong or who are off in like even Canberra, even though it's not Sydney, they're sort of still close by. We'd still want them to sort of be able to join in via Zoom, but in person will be also quite helpful. Going to be a place to get like-minded humans together who are into AR. I want to get people who are speakers across Sydney, but also beyond. So it's not just going to be speakers from Sydney, though, of course, Sydney people, you're going to get like first dibs because you're in Sydney. And so we'd like to know what you guys are doing. But I am also going to try and get people from international. Those people will probably be calling in rather than shipping them in. I don't have the money yet or any sponsors whatsoever to be flying anybody in for a meetup, but we can try and get them in just so that at the very least, I want us to be able to have access to those people where possible so that you could ask them questions. Because again, America, they get to just casually go to meetups like this all the time and just randomly bump into people who are casually working at Niantic or casually working at, Apple or Microsoft or all these places. So we want to try and get a little bit of that at least, where we can get a few of them in. They can kind of be the representatives from the international lands, and we'll kind of try and get what we can from them. It's going to be developer-focused talks, design-focused talks, even just future pondering about what things are going to be like. Basically anything at all that you want to talk about for AR. If you want to speak, you are more than welcome to. We'll have both long talks where people want to give like a full 20-minute presentation about something, showing your work, your portfolio, challenges you've overcome. But we'll also try and do like lightning talks and stuff as well. So if you're not comfortable for sitting down and kind of giving this massive presentation, but you're comfortable with like a quick 5-minute kind of, I just want to quickly run through an idea or something I have, that's cool too. All right. And so then the last few things, which are also important, and this is where I wanted to lead to with the in-person stuff. So as much as not leaving the house is fun at times, because it's really comfortable. And then the moment this meetup is done, you're home. It's not great in that we can't give you AR tech demos. And that's going to be a fun part. That is something else that I really want to be bringing back to Sydney is this AR tech is really expensive. And there are so many bits and pieces that are involved. You could have one headset and then the next week there's the next new thing. And not everybody's made of money to keep buying all these headsets and even knowing what is right for you and your project or your idea. So with having a community together, we can share this tech. We can show the headsets that we've recently got. We can have demos. So there are things like I have AR headsets. I've got a mini hologram viewer. I have a little monocle headset thingy. I've got like tons of random stuff that you guys can all see. And so when we have our in-person meetups, I'll bring a ton of that along. And if we have other speakers and things coming along, we'll try and get people who can bring some of their tech as well, because there are plenty of companies who would love to show you their tech as well. So having it in person means we can do that. And that's going to be a big part of the fun. So let's try and have in-person ones, which is largely on me to work out all of the logistics there, but we'll get there. And then later this year, depending on how everybody's feeling about it all, I'd love to even try and do our own hackathon or a competition of something where we can just get people together who really want to try, even say over a weekend, could even be virtual, of just a, hey, let's just challenge everybody for a weekend. Let's get together and make something. Because there are several people who are on this call right now who I've met literally at game jams and hackathons, where it's a really good way to just kind of come together. You just kind of find like-minded people. And there's a lot that happens in a weekend, which is really different to what we could ever achieve just in a random meetup, just over a few hours. So we're going to try that as well, if everyone's keen. All right, now, this one is something's going to keep coming up over and over again in this meetup. So it's going to probably be a lot of arguments, funnily enough, but we're going to try and be nice about it when this kind of regularly comes up. There's going to be a lot of people debating this. Let me just let one more person in and then we'll continue. Let's see how fast I get at resharing my screen. Let's see, I jinxed it. All right. So what is AR? Well, for the purposes of this meetup, we're very broad on this topic. It can be many things. It's basically anything that augments our reality with technology. So we're covering mobile AR, which is what a lot of you will have already seen and used. It's web AR. It is heads-up displays, like old Google Glass, or having a little heads-up display that kind of overlays on top of your, car windscreen, anything like that. Holograms are slowly becoming more and more of a thing, and they're cool displays that we can show. They've been really old displays, which I hope one day I can track down those companies. They have like really massive hologram displays, which I haven't heard from in ages. I want to see if I can find them again, because I'm like, surely they're still trying to make really cool holograms, but those things exist. Smart glasses with just audio, like the ones I'm wearing right now, they exist, and they also count as augmented reality. It's just augmenting the sound of your experience in your world. Technically, even the Apple AirPods and stuff can be smart in how they work. And if you work out things with spatial audio and stuff, there's a lot you could do just with audio. Smart glasses with displays, they're slowly getting more and more of those. There's a few in the AR news that I'll be mentioning. Mixed reality, spatial computing headsets. Everybody, we now call it spatial computing. If you're looking online for, the hype articles, right now, that's what the industry calls AR. It is now spatial computing. It is not necessarily mixed reality anymore, but there are pretty much similarities between all of those terms. And we're not going to go into depth of what the differences are today, but maybe next meetup, I will kind of cover all the ins and outs of what all those terms that are slightly different mean. But generally, all of those headsets, they all count. AR projections, they also count. There are devices that you might have seen last year being shared around where you can look at your hand and have something pinned on your shirt and it can project onto your hand. Cool stuff. That counts. There are also AR projections that you can just project on a wall or on a floor that can interact with, people who are interacting with them in real time. So that stuff also counts as AR. Transparent displays, this is something that you might have also seen. If you've gone to shopping malls and things now, there are transparent LEDs that you can slightly see through. that are the start of the land of holograms that are already slowly becoming mainstream for giant shopping malls that can afford them. And smart contact lenses. They will probably take many, many years until we'll get to see some of those, but they also count. So that is that's all that we're covering. There's even probably more things than that, but basically, any of that stuff, if you've got an interest in any of it, feel free to chat about it, present about it, all of that stuff. Yeah, I'm sad about Mojo too. That's actually in the news as well in one of my slides, but not for the contact lenses. But you know, it's still there. All right, intros. I will start because I feel like I should, because you all had to listen to me for several minutes now. I am Patrick Tanzariti, otherwise known as Pat Cat for short. It's much easier to remember and pronounce and say, so Pat Cat is fine. I am the head of engineering at Nova Entertainment, the radio station. That's what I do for a lot of the day. And that's where I am, managing websites, apps, all of our smart device stuff, all that bits and pieces that we do. It's fun, it's cool. One day I will encourage them to do more AR stuff as well. It's that I'm just there slowly prodding away, subtle encouragements. And I'm also one half of the Reality Crafters, which is a duo that I have with my beautiful wife, Mary, who's also on the call, and she gets to introduce herself next. But we're making augmented reality apps, filters. We're also trying to do a bit more around lifestyle as well, helping people have a good balance with technology and how they use it in their day-to-day lives. And just trying to make sure that while we're going to be making all this cool stuff with AR, there's also that huge worry that you could make things worse. Where you introduce AR, people have technology always in their view or always on their head or always everywhere around them. And that might not be the best thing for humanity. So we kind of want to use it as a chance to both do AR, but also encourage things in the right direction, because we all don't want to make things worse with technology. It's also a good chance to make things better. That is my email right there, which you're all welcome to email at any point, whenever you would like, day or night. If you've got ideas, thoughts, questions, if you want to present, if there's anything at all, just email me. Happy to receive any emails from anybody here at SydAR. Or you can also see me on Twitter at @thatpatrickguy. I'm also on LinkedIn and all those places. So I'm relatively easy to find. You'll find me. Feel free to be in touch. I've been doing AR stuff for a very, very long time. Bonus points if anybody knows what headset that is. But it was the old Meta headset before Facebook took the name Meta. There used to be a company called Meta. That's the Meta Developer Kit 1, the DK1. From the old days. That was me demonstrating an AR app that I built with that one. I think it was at Academy Xi back, I don't know, so many years ago. But that's what it was running. It was on a really, really, really old, I think it was like the very first Surface Pro. I was really pushing the boundaries of what that poor headset could do and what that poor laptop could do. But technology's advanced greatly since then. So luckily, if you're just starting to kind of come back into it now, and that looks kind of intimidating, don't worry, things are actually way better now, and yet more complicated all at the same time. All right, that is me, everybody. So we're going to do speed intros, which basically is, feel free to put up your hand if you'd like to introduce yourself. Remember, again, you don't have to if you don't want to. And I'm going to see how I can let people, share their screen and, well, their camera and stuff. I'm going to let Mary go first, so that she can be the first guinea pig, and then we'll let everyone else go from there. But also because a lot of what I just said is sort of covered with Mary, because she's one half of the Reality Crafters. So let's see whether, Mary, you can intro yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So as Pat said, I work with Pat. We're in a duo. We create AR things. So we've had over 1 million uses of filters and lenses we've made. We've won or placed in 4 international competitions. And obviously, we love AR. We enjoy making things with AR. And we also have started making some content. We put up our first public YouTube video today. Don't worry, we're not Mr. Beast. We just started today, but we do want to make content on helping people have a healthy relationship with technology as well, and hopefully guiding it to be developed in an ethical way. I'm also a passionate musician and a big fan of my two sons, which are both cats, Bloop and Meowie, except for when they destroy my jeans or when they knock Pat's glasses off the table. That's an expensive thing to replace. Yeah, so that's who I am, one half of the reality crafters. And we can go on to the next person, I think. There we go.
Thanks, Mary. Now we'll move on. We'll go to Patricia. You were next. You were the fastest hand raiser. So yeah, you go next.
Awesome. Hello from Berlin. I just got my big toddler to daycare. I met Patrick ages ago, and I think Mary, I met you once during my AR gallery as well. So I was exhibiting augmented reality tape art in, what was it, 2019 or something? Has been in AR since I was wearing the Google glasses in 2012. Loved it. I'm like, oh my God, I see 3 pixels. That's gonna be it, you know. Obviously, technology takes some time to develop, but it's lovely to see familiar faces. Oliver as well. We're together at the Australian Metaverse Council and Advisory, and I'm professionally doing consulting, so I'm helping brands to get into the metaverse or whatever that means, right? So I see it as like AR, VR, but also some, you know, decentralized and centralized works. And yeah, I'm just super passionate about the space. I love Patrick, to see you back in the game, because you know he's awesome. He's, you know, he knows his stuff really. I have a picture of me wearing a HTC Vive, which I was buying for 5K ages ago. But yeah, that's about me. If you want to connect, feel free. I'll shoot my LinkedIn. Great, and thank you so much for Patrick to do this.
Awesome. Thank you, Patricia. It also has the City Metaverse meetup as well. So if people are keen also on Metaverse stuff and going beyond just the land of AR, there's more out there, everybody. So I might also include a link to that later. Thank you, Patricia. It's good to see you. And Bastian, would you like to go next? Because you're next to my screen.
I can go next. Hello, everybody. My name is Bastian. I'm originally Dutch, now living in Sydney. I am one of the core developers behind the open source Godot engine, and mostly responsible for the VR and AR support in that game engine. So really keen to meeting people in both the VR and AR space here in Sydney, and sort of increase my network. And that's also how I met Patrick. You know, we met, I think, the first time at one of the game jams here in North Sydney. And have been friends ever since. So it's really nice to see that he's organizing stuff in the AR space again. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Good to see you and good to have you here. Jamie, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hey, how's it going? I am used to work at a company which did a lot of AR and virtual reality work. And that was Waxeye in New Zealand. It was pretty cool. They did a lot of work for Air New Zealand and for a lot of other companies. I didn't actually get hands-on with it, but I saw a lot of opportunities, and it was looking pretty promising. At the moment, I'm battling my way through front-end development, working at Stockland. It's nice, and it allows me to have some awesome evenings with my cat up back of my house. So yeah, I'm glad to be part of this meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, bonus points for having cat visible in screen. Cool. Awesome. It's good to have you, Jamie.
Bonus points are what pays my rent. So yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. And Graham, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Graham. I'm the founder of EF Digital. We're a digital recruitment company in Sydney that focus on the AR, VR, 3D and games space. I think I'll hopefully have an opportunity to share a couple of roles with you guys later, but we're always on the lookout for candidates, clients in the AR, VR, 3D space. So anybody who wants to reach out, I'll put my email address and phone number in the chat, and please reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham. Yes, it is appreciated, because that is something that I think is going to be very handy as well, is being able to link up people who are trying to find opportunities, because right now it's hard to even know where to start, to be honest, with everybody so kind of stretched out everywhere, it's sort of a bit tricky. So very much appreciated to have you here, Graham. Mara, you're next.
Mada, yeah. Okay, my name's Mada. We actually met at Academy XI long ago. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember, yeah.
With Daniel Simlin's course. So I mainly do VR. I'm actually the one of the lead artists at DAS 3D, and we work in avatars, and I created the clothing template system there for rigging. And then, like Patrick said, the VR scene in Sydney's pretty much died down from what it was. I've been more part of the US one because that's where everything's happening. Toronto and in San Francisco and all those places. So it would be great if we can get something more going in Sydney because we're so far away. It's just about impossible to go to all the meetups, cost a freaking fortune, and it just takes too much time. So I think there's definitely a big gap there for something like that. I don't do a lot of AR yet. I do want to learn more about it. I mostly do VR. I recently worked on a project with an artist in Canada, and we created a virtual gallery on the Engage platform and ended in a lot of competitions and so on. So I'm happy to show people through that along the way. I work in Unity, but my day job, most of my work is actually artist for DAS 3D. That's it.
Very cool. It is good to have you here and good to see you again. It'd be good to see you in person when we have the in-person meetups as well. We can see some of the stuff that you've done since. That's very cool. Awesome. Next, Oliver. You can go next.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Oliver Weidlich. I've been doing UX consulting, user experience consulting for about 23 years now, along with Mr. Justin Heavey, who's also on the call in the past, and my colleague Yin Yi, who's currently working with us at Contextual. And we're a UX agency that, you know, we've done a lot in the past. We were called Mobile Experience, and we've moved sort of into the spatial computing, specifically focused on head-mounted augmented reality and spatial computing. So not necessarily current state, but certainly a future state. And we've also got links to Sydney Uni. So we just co-authored an academic paper with them, Sydney Uni and Mark Billinghurst, for the International Symposium for Mixed and Augmented Reality, looking at the last 5 years of academic research with head-mounted displays for augmented reality, so mainly HoloLens, etc. So I'll pass on the link for that. And then we're really focused on the Apple Vision Pro and the launch. So we've probably had about 16 days of time with the Apple Vision Pro across the team. And we're going to launch an app, a very small sort of utility, hopefully by the end of next week for the launch of that. And I just did an interview for Vision Pros, the podcast as well. So that's about it from us. Magic Leap 2 is probably our favorite headset to prototype in at the moment, while we obviously wait for the Apple Vision Pro. So yeah, but we've got the Snapchat, the Snap spectacles, the AR ones as well, things like that. Thanks.
Cool.
Good to meet you all.
Good to have you here. It's exciting. Apple Vision Pro release. Good to keep an eye out. I want to see it when it comes out. Can be at the next meetup. Can see what you guys made. It'll be fun. Cool. And I think Richard, you had your hand up at one point. Yep. Cool.
Hi there. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've spent most of my career in London, but I now live in South Australia. So a little interstate imposter here. I'm sort of been interested in virtual reality and mixed reality for quite a while. Like when I first saw QuickTime VR, sort of around.
I've forgotten about that.
97, that sort of time I think it was. So I just put together like a director version of that. So it was my sort of degree show. That was a long time ago, and then went through the new media industry, Flash for many years, and the JavaScript frameworks. And sort of as I was sort of ending my London career in 2016, we started using the HTC Vive, sort of car shows launching Jaguar electric cars. So that was sort of my only real commercial project. because then after that I moved to Australia, and I've had a nice long chunk of time off looking after my children. But now I'm sort of past 2 years I've been listening to a lot of the voices of VR, really getting inspired with all that, and doing a few little experiments with the Apple phone. So using Unity, did a mixed reality piece for an artist where we sort of overlaid a sculpture on an island, and sort of they wanted to be animated. The actual piece didn't come off, but we have the sort of the virtual piece there. And so now I've had the Quest 3 for about 2 months now, and I'm just going through the tutorials, getting things working, using the blocks and the what was I doing today? Mixed reality user utility frame. What's it called? Mixed reality. I will get there. Utility kit, right? So I'm just trying to tool up, but really, I sort of didn't really go into the virtual reality stuff because I was sort of really out of the loop then. But now this mixed reality stuff's come along, then I'm sort of really keen to get back into it and produce some work. So we're as the sort of Vision OS or came out, we've done some tinkering with that. So I sort of had apps loaded on my phone, sort of had like a little sketchbook sort of app and I was trying to show to people and try and get people to sort of see how people like local businesses reacted to that. The sort of the person who sells the bicycles, showing him, he got really excited about, oh wow, yes, people could actually see what they're gonna get, and done a few of the things with wine bottles as well, sort of augmenting those. So that's me.
That is awesome. And yeah, you're very welcome to be here, even from South Australia, because
thank you. Yeah, it's just
there's stuff going on everywhere, and you never know. You might be able to travel down one day, and then we get to see you in person as well at one of the meetups.
Yeah,
so
I'd love to come to Sydney again. Yeah.
It would be awesome. Cool. Would anybody else like to intro themselves? Because we don't have any more hands up. Mark, you can go. Yes.
Hi everyone. I'm a little different from the rest. My background is in streaming, and I had a startup previously that was around Netflix streaming, overcoming some of the buffering. And I've started a new company called Extreme Compute, spelled XTREAM compute.com. And we do streaming for interactive content. So we're starting with cloud gaming, and we also have a demo with VR, but we can see there's a clear future to be streaming AR. And my interest in this group is to understand better the applications and the challenges with streaming. I think it's a no-brainer that over time, everything will be delivered, rendered, the applications will run on the edge, the rendering will happen on the edge, and they'll be streamed out to glasses like these with very only having to receive, decode, and display. And I think that's really exciting as a roadmap. It's not there yet. I think latency is the biggest challenge, and we have a solution for latency, but nevertheless, there's a lot of things that have to line up to make latency work really well. So I'm just really interested in knowing what the community thinks about that, and where they see, what applications might be able to be run in a streaming sense rather than, locally on a device or on the local laptop or computer.
That is exciting. And it's cool to have people from all different areas. Like your ideas and stuff is what you could help when we've got random questions about streaming ideas too, or we're like, we've got somebody who's trying to build something with AR and they've got a little bit of streaming stuff. We can be like, oh yeah, no, Mark probably knows that like easily. He'll just fix your problem in 2 minutes. But yeah, no, it is cool. So we can do a lot more on that too. But it's nice to meet you, Mark. Thanks for being here.
No worries, thanks.
And Ben, you've got your hand up. Are you there, Ben? We can see a game, Ben. We can't see you.
That is kind of strange.
Oh,
here we go. Yeah, well, I thought rather than being a fly in the wall, I feel like a little bit of an imposter when it comes to this forum. I'm the director of the Digital New South Wales Accelerator. I'm obviously interested in all things tech and human interactions with tech. But as far as AR and VR goes, more of an observer, more of a personal interest in all things. But who knows? Something that we might do in the government space. Maybe not so cool as AR, but certainly some of the applications will certainly become a thing in the future. Particularly, well, even things like well, regulations, which the forums might not like to hear so much about, but part of my job gets involved in some of those things. So
Yeah,
I can be the
that's
advocate of
cool.
not too heavily regulated, if that's required.
Cool. Yeah, no, and it's good to have you here. You're definitely not an imposter. You're very, very, very welcome here, because there's also tons of insight that you could give us as well when we're talking through things, because it's also hard for us to know. There'll be a lot of times when we'll have like news or discussions, right, where it'll be how it happens in America, and we'll be like, I don't know, does New South Wales have anything even close to that? And you might be the perfect person to just be like, actually, yes, they do, or no, but then you could explain more about it, or like limitations or anything like that. So I'm sure there's tons of useful insight.
And side note, I am jealous of your Meta glasses. They're out of stock everywhere, so I can't get one.
Oh no,
not at the moment. Wait until they're back.
They'll come back. Yeah. Definitely get them when they're back in stock. They're very fun. Cool. Nice to meet you, Ben. All right. Gregory, you can go next.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. It's first time using Zoom on the phone. I'm not too confident. Hi, I'm Greg Kirkendall. I'm from the US originally. I've lived in Sydney 15 years now. I started out as a commercial software developer, then I was a software consultant, and then for the last 5 years, I worked at Salesforce in technical pre-sales. I got into VR in the mid-90s. There was something called the eyeglasses, and it ran on DOS, and the latency was measured in seconds when you turned your head. The technology basically wasn't ready. I'm very excited now because I think you can do web-based. You have a lot of reasonably priced options. I think it's ready. It just needs applications and companies willing to jump on board. I have a company called New Reality. That's nu-reality.com, and I'm doing metaverse events and meetings for business. I'm also working with other companies that are interested in having mixed reality components in their product and giving them advice on how that would be designed and how so it isn't the whole point of the product. They want an AR or a VR component to it. So from this group's perspective, I'm more of a person that convinces a business to spend money, and then I would be scrambling for people like yourselves to help create the content. So I'm more of I would say, a AR, VR hirer than I would be a content creator. Although I'm nerdy enough, I like Mozilla Hubs, and I've got it running a few times on Google. So I like to keep my hands dirty and understand how it all hangs together. Well, that's me in a nutshell. I'll try to figure out how to send a link so you guys can stay in touch. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you, Gregory. Perfect person to join the meetup as well. Definitely share links. And for everybody as well, you can share links even after. Like if you can't work out how to put it into the Zoom chat, you can put it in the meetup group discussion, or you can just send me an email with it and I'll share it around as well in future meetups and stuff. Or I'll try and include some links as well in when I post the replay on YouTube. I'll try and put it in the description where I can. I'll try and kind of collect as much of the links as I can. All right, Solomon, you are next.
Thanks. I'm Salman. My background is software development based on Sydney at the moment. So I have been on this field almost 17, 18 years now. And I have started almost 2 years working on a mocap product for ourselves. I'm leading a team of developers. I'm sharing the link here. And what we have developed is like a simple and, without require to any suit or sensor, like sensorless RemoCap. We have named it, mocap application. We have named it RemoCap, real motion capture. So minimum 2 cameras and maximum 8 cameras can be used for converting your movement to a real-time motion capture. And we have implemented Unreal Engine plugin. And last month we uploaded to the Unreal Engine marketplace. It's there for download, free for download. And we have developed a Blender plugin too for that one. And also we have a plan for using MetaHuman rig for this one. At the moment, we are supporting Unreal Engine 5 for Blender. And yeah, so it's free for testing. And I'm just joining this one to connect with people. Any opportunity working on metaverse, on avatars, we have some plans working on that area. And nice to meet you guys, everyone here.
That sounds amazing. I want to see the things that you guys have made later.
Yeah,
For
sure.
sure. It sounds cool.
I just shared the YouTube links over there. You can have a look.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. Nice to meet you, Salman. And Olga, you're next.
Hi, I'm Olga. Honestly, I'm interested in VR and AR some years ago. Before I worked in banking, we didn't use VR and AR. But recently I graduated my university where I met game development and became interested in VR and AR. And so I see how it can to study my children in school, know some interesting new, and subject became more interesting, math, engineering, and something. And so I think VR and AR it's future in development and in our future. I'm developer, but not VR and AR developer on the common. But I think it's interesting.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you're in the right place because this could also help you become an AR developer or see the sorts of stuff that everyone's doing. You never know.
Yeah, it could be good if I became a developer because it's interesting. Not only for gaming, but gaming is interesting. But for studying or something else, traveling, I saw a lot of apps for traveling when I sit in Sydney and can see other places, other cities, museums, Louvre, Paris. And I don't have a lot of money for travel to Paris, but I can visit Louvre. It's good.
Yeah, no, I understand that not having money to go to Paris as well. I would like to be traveling everywhere as well, but technology is expensive as well. And so one headset is much cheaper than many tickets. That too. Not allowed to travel right now. But yeah, cool. It's lovely to meet you, Olga, and good to have you here. And feel free as well throughout the next few meetups as well. Both you, Olga, and anybody here, if you are a developer but you're not an AR developer, that's okay. You can always ask questions as well. If anybody who's presenting or talking about things that they've done, if they say something you don't fully kind of understand, if they start talking in AR developer lingo, feel free as well to raise your hand throughout, because it's totally fine for not everybody here to be an AR developer or have tons of experience in it. We're kind of all going to grow together and work out stuff as we go. All right. Rihanna, you're next.
Hello, everybody. So I'm in the same boat. I'm a developer, but I don't have any experience in VR development. I'm based in Sydney and I work with big corporates for commercial applications. I really love the technology. I think there are so many possibilities and there are so many opportunities that you can make use of. So I'm so excited to learn more about it and do something hopefully helpful for others.
Awesome. Sounds good. We're going to get everybody to become AR developers. It's going to be fun. Get everybody to even make like a fun little demo and stuff at some point. It'll be cool. Awesome. Good to have you here, Rihanna. Nice to meet you. And Yin, you're up next.
Cool. Thanks, Pat. Hi, everybody. In here. So I work with Oliver at Contextual. So my day job is UX consultant. I remember when I started with Contextual 3 years ago, my first project is to mock up an AR scenario together. Until like recently we work with Apple Vision Pro, it has been quite a journey. So, worth mentioning as well, Oliver just pre-ordered a Vision Pro. So this is another reason you should really connect with him. And how I met Pat, I actually met Pat before I met Ollie for Nova Smart Voice project during my time at General Assembly. And a fun fact about me is my background is actually in fashion design. And sadly, it's the most polluting business in the whole world. So I was hoping maybe one day I can do something in augmented reality to actually close the gap and make it a better fashion, a better place. So that's me.
That is amazing. And yes, it is good to see you again. We crossed paths many times in very unexpected ways, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And yes, you will have tons to share. I'm certain in future meetups as well, when we've got like random design questions, we'll be like, we'll get you and Oliver to just step in and be like, oh, we've done this before. We know the go here, and you'll save us a lot of time when we're all trying to work out what to do. Cool, good to have you here. And Gerard, you're up next.
Hey everybody, I'm Gerard. I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person. I still do love cats, but my dogs are probably going to start barking any second now, so I'm going to make this really quick. Right. I'm based in Perth, Australia. I'm an animator and developer. I use a lot of Maya, ZBrush, and Blender, and I do a lot of development in Babylon.js and Unreal. I freelance to a lot of agencies around the world, including to a couple in Sydney, but the main one I do freelance to in Sydney is Zebra. So we've done a couple of really cool executions there. The latest one was at Disney in Westfield, and also the Metaverse of Magic. So I was like the UI designer and animator on that.
I have much to ask you about that later, Gerard. The Metaverse of Magic was very cool.
Oh, really? Did you get to see it?
Yeah.
I'm a bit. I was really considering flying over to seeing it myself because it hasn't actually come to Perth yet. So they were kind of umming and ahhing if they're going to come to Perth. And if they were, I was hoping to get some backstage passes to take my nieces and nephews to. But I'm really passionate about WebXR more than anything else. And I use a lot of Babylon.js for that. I'll share an article that I wrote about Babylon.js in the chat group as well, and just the reason why I found it the easiest out of all the web technologies that I've used, or 3D web technologies that I've used to kind of get into. Most of my work is in advertising, and I've created a lot of AR campaigns from like a range of clients, from retail to mining and oil and gas, because living in Perth, a lot of the work here is oil and gas. And yeah, it's just an awesome meetup, Patrick, and hopefully get to keep meeting up with you guys online or in person sometime when I come to Sydney.
Awesome. It is good to have you here, and you're very welcome here. It's cool to have people from all around Australia. That is awesome. And you've got some very, very cool skills. And yes, Metaverse of Magic was amazing. I enjoyed it greatly. I'm trying to learn magic at the moment, so it was good kind of, I have to go see the combination. I want to be making magic and combining with AR and stuff too. So I was like, that's perfect. I want to see what they did. And it was pretty cool. So I would recommend everybody see it, but the Sydney show's already finished and moved on. But maybe they'll come back next year. We'll see. It was cool. All right. Is there anybody else left? Because we don't have any other hands up.
There was one person who wrote in the chat that can't currently speak.
Cool.
That's Connor holding the baby, I believe. And a very cute baby it is too.
Cool. Do you want to intro yourself, Connor, or do you want to just wave and you can chat next time?
He typed an
Hi, Connor.
intro into the chat. So he's
Cool.
put a couple of points in there.
Yes, don't wake up the baby. It's important. Keep them sleeping.
I
Cool. Thank you,
bumped it,
Mary.
so it's in the chat.
Awesome.
Read it.
Perfect. All right. In that case, I think that's everybody. So I will go back to sharing my screen and we'll get into the next bit, which if I can get Zoom to play nice again. But yeah, it's awesome to meet everybody. And I'm really glad that we've got such a diverse group because that is also very cool. It's good that everybody's not all just the same, that we have like people from everywhere doing all sorts of stuff. All right, question, which we can discuss over time, but should we have a Discord? Because there are a lot of Discords and Slack groups that exist. I have a giant list already, but for later, feel free to even just put in the chat whether you'd be interested in having a Discord or whether honestly having yet another Discord would just mean it's too hard to keep up with. But I'm just trying to find ways of us kind of keeping in touch throughout the month as well. If people kind of need to reach out, if you're looking for help for something and you don't wait till the next meetup, we could always just leave it in the Meetup group, like at meetup.com. You go to the group, you could post in the discussions there. But if you'd like us to set up a Discord, I can set us up a Discord, but I'm not going to go wild and set us up a Discord yet. I'm going to wait till we definitely have enough people that really want to. I don't want to just add another Discord to everybody's kind of giant list of things to keep up with. All right. This bit is something that will likely grow as the meetup grows, but each month we want to have a section for jobs, which is if you're looking for a job in AR, or if you're hiring in AR, or you know somebody who's looking for people in AR, if you're looking for help with a project. So it could even be an unpaid one where you're just like, hey, I just need a hand for an hour with something. Is anybody free to help me with this? It won't necessarily have to always be just in this meetup as well. You could post it up on the meetup group discussion board, or if we have a Discord or things like that. And I already know we have one person here who already mentioned earlier that they can help with jobs and stuff. So I'll let you kick off, and then we'll see whether anybody else also has anything to go off. But yeah, onwards to you, Graham.
Cool. Thank you very much. So look, yeah, as just a quick recap, we're an AR, VR, 3D and games recruitment company based in Sydney. We cover roles all over Australia. I've got a couple of good positions which we're working on at the moment that I wanted to just really quickly talk about, just to give you a flavour of what we work on. We've got a Unity C# developer role for a VR AR studio in Sydney to work on spatial learning projects. That one's most probably paying between about the 60 to 85k plus super. So it obviously suits somebody of that type of level. That is a Sydney-based role and does require somebody who is capable of working in the Sydney CBD. We've also got a really interesting 3D art role for an interactive games company. That one's really looking for somebody that's got good knowledge of Unreal Engine, any previous experience in interactive games or VR games, anything like that is useful. That one is paying between about the 80 to 100k plus super mark. Both roles are available now, looking for candidates, should be interviewing early after the public holiday. So if anybody is interested in either of those two positions, as I put my email address and LinkedIn into the chat, or if there are other roles which you are potentially recruiting for, or you are maybe just kind of passively looking at the moment, we're always looking for good candidates, so do please reach out. But those are two of the good roles that we're working on at the moment. So if anybody was interested at all, please reach out anytime. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Graham. It is good to have you here as well, because you can be a good conduit as well.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, feel free, even if you're not sure, or say if you're working towards getting a role in the industry and stuff, and you're looking for advice, folks like Graham are really good to turn to, even just to be like, hey, what experience is everybody after, what sort of roles are available, what might I need to do. Graham would be a good person to kind of give you a bit of insight in that area too. So definitely feel free to get in touch with Graham.
Yeah, more than happy to help in any way possible. So anybody does need any advice, please reach out anytime. I know there's a couple of people in this meetup who I have actually worked with before and I've actually placed. So it's good to see some familiar faces.
Small world, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Graham. And does anybody else have anything? You're looking for somebody to join your team? Or are you looking for a role? Feel free to put up your hands. Otherwise, we'll keep on to the next thing. I think we'll continue on. Yep, cool. All right, I'm going to share my screen once more. All righty. So next is, all right, opportunities. So we only have one, and it might not be relevant for everybody, but it is an opportunity. Let's do a little, let me switch over. There we go. So there is something called the Ray Neo AI Challenge, which is a headset. So it's a headset called the Ray Neo X2, and it's pretty much like a hackathon sort of deal where it's a competition. There are 2 different tracks, and it's focused very much on AI. There's one which is AI agents, where you make an agent for AI. That one's less relevant for the AR side of things. But why I bring it up here is that the AI native application track, where I think it's more around if you make an application for the device, like you pitch an application idea for the device that includes AI within it, there is the opportunity to ask them to let you borrow a device. So if you're somebody who's trying to get some kind of way into doing stuff with AR, and you're really into AI as well, this is a way where you could potentially get a chance to borrow a headset from them for the event and kind of learn from them and things like that too. So those are the headsets there. And if you're interested, you can literally just go to their website, the Ray Neo X2. They'll give you a link to go to their Discord, and you get tons more info there around how to join. But that's the one opportunity for now. But I'm going to keep each month, I will kind of provide you guys more info on other opportunities that kind of pop up that could help you get devices, or sometimes it's just industry expertise. Sometimes if you can kind of get involved in a hackathon, you can manage to see more of an insight into things. So that's those ones. All right, AR news is the next bit. So I'm going to try and cover this, but not in detail because there's a lot. And I'm going to be we're going to share the recording later, so you can look into the articles more if there's anything in particular that you're really curious about, or if you have questions when we kind of got the end where we kind of just chat and answer some questions, you can ask it there. But everybody, I think by this point, knows that the Apple Vision Pro pre-orders all came out, and so far we have one person in this meetup who was eager enough to find a way to get it, even though I don't believe they're officially in Australia, so you have to do a little bit of work around. You have to know somebody in the US, or I think it's mainly US, that you can get it. So you have to sort of know somebody there who's able to kind of do the deal for you. But some curious things for anybody who's kind of wondering, well, how did it go? There was a big pre-order. Did anybody actually buy any? Because they were crazy expensive. And so far, the current belief, this is Ming-Chi Kuo, who is one of the analysts who sort of pays a lot of attention to Apple and how things go, and generally is more around, Apple device releases like iPhones and things like that. Their insight and guess on it, it's like an educated guess rather than like official numbers, because Apple's never going to just randomly tell you how well their things went, is that it seemed like probably about 160 to 180,000 units were pre-ordered. Pretty much they sold out straight away after the first pre-order opened, which happens with Apple devices just in general. And then each time it kind of sells out, then the shipping times kind of extend. So if you've ever pre-ordered an iPhone, you would see that if you pre-order it right at the very, very start, you'll get it much faster, but you've kind of got to be like right on the dot. Like you pre-order at the moment that they open. Otherwise, it says that they're sold out, and you're pre-ordering and you'll get it later on. And it's sort of the shipping time extends and extends and extends the more people pre-order them. What they found is that those shipping times they extended to about 5 to 7 weeks, and then they stopped extending beyond that point, which generally means most of the time that after about 48 hours, everybody who was really, really keen, they've all gone and ordered them, and it sort of slowed down after that point, which makes sense. This device is something where it's going to be very much more developer focused. It's going to be like the really hardcore people who want to start trying it out, who are going to be the one who really want to get this. Steve Solomon, thanks for being here. And it's totally okay if anybody needs to go, because there will be a recording afterwards anyways as well. So basically it shows that there is still that's a solid chunk of people, especially if a lot of those are developers. That's about, at least 160,000 potential developers out there kind of building for this, or people who are really keen on the device, who are going to be testing out those things that you built. So everybody will be testing out all of his utility. He'll have at least 160,000 downloads on that one for everyone to try. So that'll be good. But overall, it's not bad. Basically, it looks like relatively okay for a first product that is quite expensive. This one is going to be more relevant for us as time goes on, and we sort of got to see how it goes. But Apple have released their marketing guidelines as well, which is important to know if you're going to be releasing stuff on the Apple Vision Pro, is how to kind of speak about it in your descriptions and marketing materials. This has got people kind of questioning it a little bit, so not everybody's super happy with some of the terms, because Apple really want you to talk about it as spatial computing. They don't really like the idea of you mentioning AR or VR. Whether they're going to be super strict on it when it actually releases and stuff, who knows? But just be aware, if you are looking for things about the Apple Vision Pro, people will more likely be starting to call their apps the spatial computing apps. So you might not be able to find them if you're looking for AR apps necessarily. And also, if you are talking about the Apple Vision Pro, especially if it's something that you're building in the Apple Vision Pro and you're marketing something for it, they really want to make sure you call it the Apple Vision Pro and not just the Vision Pro, things like that. So if that is of any relevance to you, that's kind of, we've now let you know. So you know how Apple want you to talk about the device, at least, so you can keep Apple happy. You might have seen this story as well, which I wanted to just quickly show everybody and try and kind of ease everybody's worries, because there was like multiple, I guess, camps depending on how it got reported. But there's several groups that aren't building for the Apple Vision Pro yet, including Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, have so far reportedly opted out of making something specifically for the Apple Vision Pro yet. So on launch, probably won't be there. You can also, if you've got an iPad app, you can sort of opt in automatically to just have that iPad app available on the Apple Vision Pro, which is why if you hear Apple's promotions for the device, they say that there are, a lot of apps for it. Not all those apps are built specifically for the device. There are a lot of iPad apps which you can use in spatial computing land, which is still very valid and a cool use of it, because you can sort of have, iPad apps around you in your real space. But those guys kind of holding out and sort of more saying that, you'd have to just use it through the web isn't that big of an issue, to be fair. There are a lot more out there who are building native apps still for it. And it's sort of nice, to be honest, that you could have web-first experiences that are just the go-to. Like if you want to go onto YouTube, it makes sense. Just go to youtube.com and your headset, and you can still look at YouTube. So you don't need it to be an app for what it is, basically. So that's not as big of a worry as it seems. The other side of it was, this is the list that I could find so far in Apple's press releases and stuff for people who are releasing on it, and it's a pretty big list. So Disney Plus, ESPN, NBA, there's tons, basically. There are Amazon Prime Video will be on there. There's going to be a whole bunch of games, and all sorts of big names are going to be there. And then the rest, as we said, with like YouTube and Netflix, it's just with streaming over Safari browser. So there's going to be tons of people to do in the headset when they first get it, even if there's no app specifically for Netflix. So if you have pre-ordered the Apple Vision Pro and then you freaked out that it's going to bomb because it doesn't have a Netflix app, don't worry, that's ridiculous. It's not going to bomb because of that. And the fact that Netflix aren't on there doesn't mean that every developer is giving up on the device and all is whoa, that's not the case at all, so don't worry. These are a few other things that are just mentions about the Apple Vision Pro around the internet. So one thing that is going to be likely on the Apple Vision Pro is Microsoft Office Suite. So Word, PowerPoint, all those things, Microsoft Teams will be on there. And so this is a really big deal because it is sort of initially positioning itself as something that you would use day to day in more of like a productivity suite. So being able to go on into your headset and use Word or PowerPoint or Teams is pretty handy. So these things existing could be really useful for a lot of the people who might not be developers, who just want to find those common things that they do day to day. Chances are it's going to be things like Word and the Safari browser and stuff like that. And we get to sort of learn from them using this device, what works, what doesn't work, what do people tend to use, and we can kind of go from there. All right, enough about Apple Vision Pro for now. Instead, all the other devices. Now, it's not so good for this one. If anybody had the Bose glasses, they were called Bose frames, and they were one of the audio-based augmented reality headsets. They sort of stopped a while ago. They were released 5 years ago, and they quietened down. They used to have like an AR development kit where you could build audio-based AR with them, and you could sort of make apps that would work with the glasses. There was no vision on them. It was just audio, but it was really cool. And they were the first of their kind. What Meta have done with Ray-Ban is very similar to what they previously did. So they sort of paved the way for this sort of technology. Sadly, it's pretty much being discontinued. So if you were somebody who really wanted to get them, you can still get like the last few, but after they've been sold out, it's basically it. So that is sad news to start the meetups with, but that is sort of what's going to happen a lot with a lot of our meetups, is at least every few months I'll likely be telling you about another startup or something that's no more. It's just the nature of things, I'm afraid. Other sad news, and then we'll move to happy news, is that Google laid off a whole lot of AR employees. Basically, a few hundred in their AR hardware team were laid off as well, which is not good. Hopefully, it means that they will make their way to other places. Chances are they'll get snatched up very quickly to work on other hardware projects. But yeah, just that's some other sad news to cover. Happier news is Niantic's Lightship ARDK. So I don't know whether everybody knows what this is. If you don't worry, I'll be telling you plenty about it over time. I'm one of the Lightship leaders. So Niantic have a way to make mobile apps. So Niantic, they made Pokemon Go and Ingress and a bunch of other AR apps. They also made a way to make AR games and applications using Unity and their own plugin called Lightship ARDK. I'm part of their community, so I sort of lead their community and kind of help people out with trying to get started with the SDK. I don't work for Niantic. It's more of like a volunteer, kind of just helping out on the side and kind of trying to help people get into AR, to be fair. But if anybody is looking for ways to start making mobile apps where you really want to make an iPhone app or an Android app that uses AR, the Lightship ARDK is one of the easiest ways to just kind of quickly get something up and running and do all sorts of stuff. We have a video, and let's see whether it lets me play it. No, it does not. No video for everybody. Oh, that's okay. We'll have a video in the notes.
It looked like it started to play.
Oh, did it? All right. Let me just be patient then. There we go.
I think it's just looping, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty much them just talking about it over and over. And the other thing is just improved speed pretty much on iOS. It works a lot faster. But one of the things that you'll hear a lot on in these meetups is meshing. And what their improvement is basically meshing is mapping out the world and the spaces around it and where the walls are and the floor and any other objects that sort of appear, so that you could bounce things off them, or you can apply effects to them, or you can generate items on a mesh. And that update is actually genuinely very, very useful. And I am upset they didn't have it before, because it would have saved me a lot of time. But basically, when you've got an AR app at the moment, if people walk in the way and stuff and you're generating things on a mesh, they kind of become part of the mesh, and things will start appearing on them. So this is really, really handy, because you can literally say, hey, ignore people, and we can just make AR apps that can literally just generate things on the ground now in all sorts of cool ways. So very handy update. The Looking Glass Go was a very successful Kickstarter. Looking Glass are a company, they're the Looking Glass Factory. They've been around for years and years and years. They used to make really, really massive rectangular holograms, and they've sort of reduced them and reduced them and reduced them. I have a Looking Glass portrait, which I'll bring next meetup, that's about that big, that makes holograms. It's not on, so you're not going to see a hologram right now. But they're pretty much like sort of becoming more and more portable. This one is like way, way smaller. As you can see, it's pretty much like the size of a phone, but you can even use it just on the side. If you're building 3D assets and you're like a 3D designer, you could see it in 3D beside you. They've got plugins for things like Unity, so that you can sort of use it to see your models, test things out, develop in 3D. But you can also do things like give it as gifts to friends who are really into AR, or you can hint to your loved ones and friends and family that you would really like one, so that you can see your stuff in a hologram fashion. But this is a really cool way of it slowly making its way to mainstream, is even just really simple things like this, where you can start letting people see that you can get more 3D things in your real world without it needing to be super complicated. You could do things like taking photos with your iPhone, where if you get spatial photos, where you've got like a lot of cameras and iPhones can kind of capture a bit, you can then kind of get them uploaded, and you can give people cool little like family photos, which are slightly 3D-ified, which is really fun. And if you didn't get them now and you really want one, you can still pre-order them at lookingglassfactory.com. It's just not part of the Kickstarter anymore, but yeah, it's exciting. The Xreal is another company that makes a whole lot of AR headsets. I have one here as well, which I will show at the next meetup. It's in a box, so it's not going to be as exciting to see. I have an older version. Their newer ones are a lot slimmer. You can sort of tell that they're not just regular glasses still. They're still a little bit more chunky. But the Xreal Air and Air 2 Pro, it's a lot more like having a extra screen in front. So it'll just sort of display a screen in front of your face. There's not so much of an understanding of the world around. It's more so you can do things like watch Netflix on a virtual screen, where you just put your headset on. Those glasses, they connect to your phone or your laptop, and it sort of just gives you an extra display, which you can kind of control in front of your face. Very handy for things like flights. So if you travel a lot and you don't have to kind of awkwardly hold your laptop, but you want to say watch your movie or do some simple stuff, a lot of people use it with Samsung phones, because Samsung has Samsung DeX, where it can kind of make a desktop environment for you. A lot of people use the Xreal, plug it into their Samsung phone, and then you've pretty much got a computer. You could just kind of get a small Bluetooth keyboard, and then you're working in augmented reality. So it's really cool. They're relatively easy to pre-order and get, and older versions of the headsets are also still pretty good. This one is really cool if you get the Air 2 Pro, because it also has what is electrochromic dimming levels, which maybe I'll show a video in a future meetup, but it basically means you can also tint them to turn them into more a VR headset. So it can be clear like my glasses now, but then it can also turn darker and darker and darker if you don't want to see the world around you. So you're really immersed in a video and you don't really need to see what's in front of you at the time. So they're really cool. There's also the Xreal Air 2 Ultra. These are way bigger, as you can see. They're a little bit less inconspicuous in the day-to-day life on the street. But these are specifically for developers and enthusiasts like you all here. We wouldn't really be asking, regular folk who are not techie to kind of be getting these yet. But these have a lot more of the features that you'd expect with augmented reality. So hand tracking, depth tracking, the mesh, so knowing where things are in the real world and being able to place them there, detecting planes, detecting images. There isn't really a way to get Australian shipping yet, so you'd have to be similar to the Apple Vision Pro, finding like a workaround at the moment. But they're really cool if you're somebody looking for something that's relatively compact-ish, but isn't the Apple Vision Pro, and is not going to be quite as fully featured as the Apple Vision Pro, but still very handy and has a lot of potential. They're definitely a really good option to look into. And I'm hoping at some point we'll have like a demo that we can show at a future meetup of those ones. You'll also have seen, maybe if you've been looking at a lot of the news, that ASUS have their AirVision M1s. Most people mainly seem to talk about how it sounded very Apple-like with their naming, and that was silly to call it that, and that they were just trying to jump on the bandwagon, which could be true. We will find out how their headset goes. The one difference with this one that I saw compared to a lot of the others was that, yes, you do plug in your phone, similar to the extra ones, but this one seems to be able to handle a lot of virtual screens rather than just one in front of your face. So it could be good if you're somebody who wants to multitask and have tons of things running at once. How well it works, we don't know till it gets released, but that's coming as well. These ones I've already mentioned, but the Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses, they're out, as we heard from earlier. They've sold out at the moment, but they're going to come back. Meta and Ray-Ban are very eager to keep selling you as many of these as possible. So never fear, keep an eye out for them. I wear them as my everyday glasses at the moment. They do run out of battery. So it's weird having my glasses run out of battery. That wasn't a problem I had before, but you just put them into their glasses case and they charge. If you put them in for about 10 minutes or so, they tend to charge pretty fast.
Do you have the transition lenses, Pat?
I do. And if Meta and Ray-Ban are listening, I did them all legitimately and through their official salesman. But what I actually did was buy them separately and then get my optometrist to change them into different transition lenses, just because my own requirements meant my lens that I needed was a little bit more complicated than what Ray-Ban provide in their store. But I would definitely recommend getting transitions. I believe if you do what I did, there's a chance that you can void your warranty. So at your own peril, if you attempt such a thing. But you can just get regular transitions as well. If you're planning on wearing them just most of the time, definitely get transitions. Because I've seen many, many people who've posted on social media and stuff who got the non-transition ones and then were like, damn it, I should have just gotten transitions. Then I wouldn't have to keep switching out my glasses all the time.
Yeah, I've got the version 1 ones in the sunglasses, and yeah, it's a regret.
Did you not? So you didn't go for the transition ones, and then you were like, damn it, now I can't just wear these inside because I look creepy. Yeah,
exactly.
I've also spoken to my optometrist. It's a whole lot cheaper than Ray-Ban charging.
Yeah.
About half the price in the transition lenses.
Cool. So maybe I save some money, which is good.
So essentially you just buy a plain pair, well, they're like the cheapest base model lens pair, and then get your optometrist. Is that right? Was that
pretty much?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I asked the optometrist, like there's no stock available at the moment. It's only available in Sunglasses Hut and PSM because it's the same supplier that brings in Ray-Ban. The same company that owns both of those. You won't be able to get it anywhere else, not at the moment anyway.
Yeah, I got mine from Sunglass Hut. And I think they ended up just being sent from Ray-Ban themselves because it then just got sent from overseas. Anyways,
because they are the importer of them in Australia of the Ray-Ban brand.
That makes sense. Yeah, my optometrist couldn't get them either. I had to buy them separately and then bring them over.
No, they won't sell it to anyone else. At least not for now.
Yeah. Shifty Ray-Ban with their fancy, exclusivity deals, but that's all good. It's totally fine to get them from Sunglass Hut. I would recommend getting them from Sunglass Hut still and just doing what you want with them. But they're fun. You can take photos with them. They have an AI assistant, so you can also talk to Meta. You just say, I won't say it, you say, hey, and then that name of that company, and then you can say things like, what's the time, what's the weather. It's eventually going to be able to use the cameras. It's not available in Australia yet, I think only in America, where it can see what you're looking at. So you could be like, hey, what is this? And it could tell you sort of like, oh, that's this plant or something like that, which is pretty cool. And we have Gregory, you've got your hand up. What's up? Oh, it disappeared. Oh, there you go.
I bought the X-Real lights N-Real lights 2 years ago.
Yes.
I would strongly urge you to look at the forums if you're thinking about developing for them. Because they had, how do I put this? Shithouse support for developers. They like the version of Unity they were supporting was so old for a while that it was almost unusable. So if you can use them out of the box, they were okay. So like, you know, if I plug them into my laptop and use them as virtual screens, they're great, or, you know, watch a movie. But if you were actually developing for them, they don't have and again, I haven't checked recently, so something could have changed recently, but they've basically abandoned the lights and they're sending me emails telling me to upgrade to the Ultra and giving me a discount. So basically it's their developer kit is a screenless Android phone with the glasses, and I did import them from China, and it was interesting to play with. But like I said, by the time they once they got another injection of funding, they started doing more on the developer side, like actually getting on a recent version of Unity. But I would be very, very careful as a developer about supporting them because they just don't answer questions. And I think they've got one human covering everything, or at least that's how it was. And so it's very hard to get good support. And they don't have a lot of examples out of the box. So if you're really clever and you've worked with a bunch of different, let's say XR products, and you want to add that to the kit, you'll probably figure it out. If it was your first one, it would probably be a pretty steep learning climb. So just a heads up there. I don't know if anyone else has worked with them, but there was a lot of not love sent to the developers a year ago, which was the last time I looked at it. So I have quite a bit of actual VR and AR kit. I'll send a list later rather than canonically go through it. I think the coolest thing I have right now is I have a screen I imported from the US that's made by Asus that doesn't require any glasses, that it tracks your eyeballs. And you can actually use it to look at 3D models without any glasses at all. So it would be good in a retail environment where you are wanting to look at something where you wanted to engage the user, but it's a single person at a time because it can only track one human's eyeballs at a time. So basically the stereo pair moves based on the position of your pupils. So it's a cool thing. It requires Windows as well. You can't use it on Mac. They don't have drivers. But if someone has a Windows laptop, I can bring it to an in-person meet and you can give it a whirl.
Awesome.
So that was it.
That sounds amazing.
I'll stop there.
Thanks, Greg.
Cheers. Yep.
That is good feedback to have. I can say I've developed for them when that was Nreal as well. But I did it when it was Mary and I did it for one of their developer challenges. So I think they had more support around then because they knew everybody was going to be around. But even then, you can tell that they're working with a much smaller team to help out. So even during the event, it can get really hard to get help at times. So you sort of rely a lot more on the general developer community helping each other rather than getting help from X-Real as often. Maybe that'll have changed as well. I'm not sure either. I'm in a similar boat to Gregory. I'll look up later and see how their teams are all going. Maybe they've gotten more funding, so they've expanded the developer relations team at some point. But we will see how that goes. Cool. It's good to get these insights as well. All right. Next slide, if it lets me go back to it. Oh yeah, talking about transparent LEDs and stuff and storefronts. This one was really cool, and it wasn't really listed technically as AR, but I would say it's pretty close to the start of at least rich people having AR in their house. I don't know the regular people will get this quite yet, but we'll let it play the video. Cool. All right, we'll continue on because I don't know whether you guys can actually hear the video, but you can just vaguely see the general kind of gist of what's going on, which I guess we'll have to do. I'll have to find ways of sharing video audio later, or you can watch the videos in person. But basically, it's pretty cool. And as you could see, it's generally got little bits of AR hologram feel. It's not quite the same as having a holographic display or anything like that, but it's the start of something pretty cool. And there could be some really interesting kind of creations that people could do, knowing that you could have a transparent back to your TV. This one, I feel like almost everybody will have seen by now, but I'm going to play it anyway very quickly. I'll just skip to the point where he's showing the hollow floor, the hollow tiles. There we go. So basically, whole lot of dots on the floor, and you can pretty much walk, and it can control sort of where you go so you don't fall off. And as you'd imagine, it's going to be very good for VR, but AR applications could also be pretty handy in that way, because while you could also move, you could also get objects to move as well. So you could get both a person to move, but you could also move, let me go to little bits. So as you can see, you can move items as well. So there'd be a lot of use in AR as well for this sort of thing over time. Imagine having an entirely connected smart home where you could just randomly request things to come towards you, or, you know, have a whole interactive workspace or things like that. There's also going to be a lot, as it's made by Disney. Disney will be using it in a lot of their shows. And so next time you go to a musical or something by Disney, you might see things moving on their own and stuff like that, which will be all controlled by these wonderful things. And so they'll pair it with tons of tech and do really cool things. The Lanny Smoot guy is really, really cool. If you're ever looking for some inspiration for somebody who's made a lot of really cool, interesting, wacky things, just by the fact that he works at Disney, he gets to make lots of cool stuff and really, really random things, but all very fun. This one I won't cover in detail because we already mentioned them before, but this is the one that you could get on loan from that competition. They're the TCL Ray Neos. They're thin as well. They've got a display that you can see through. They've got a lot of similar things to a lot of the other AR headsets, voice assistants. It's got translation, which it can then show on the display, which is pretty cool. And yeah, there's a lot that it can do. If you're interested in kind of seeing that a little bit more, feel free to look into that. This was my brief mention of Mojo Vision. So a lot of you may have heard of Mojo Vision before as the company that were making contact lenses, so AR contact lenses that you could put in your eye and have AR around you. They've stopped doing that for now, or at least they've sort of seemed to put it on the back burner, or they're not like publicly doing as many demos of that. They sort of have pivoted publicly to be making just really, really, really tiny displays instead for AR that people could use in headsets and things. So if you imagine their previous displays were just all one color, so they just say like blue, so you can have like blue lines and shapes and stuff in like a really, really, really tiny form factor. And tiny is in like 200 millimeters tiny. So really, really, really small. Which would be very useful for things like smart glasses and stuff like that, where you've got something super, super tiny. Their latest breakthrough, which is pretty cool, is having full color now in their most recent one. They didn't say how big it was necessarily. They only said how big the dots were. The dots, each pixel there is 1.3 micrometers, I think is what it's called. Basically, it's 0.0013 millimeters is how big each one of those tiny little dots is to generate color. So it's really, really cool, really small. And this stuff is going to mean that over time, the more companies are using this tech, the more you're going to have really, really small bits of AR pretty much everywhere in your glasses that you're barely going to notice is there. All right, that's all the news. And I think that's plenty for you all to kind of have had me speak at you for. Now, there's no obligation for anybody to have questions or anything you want to raise, but I wanted to give the opportunity, if anybody has any questions, anything that's on your mind, feel free to raise your hand and we can kind of cover it. Otherwise, we can also, if you're not comfortable kind of saying it out in the group and you've got questions and stuff, you can always email me and there are things that we can cover in future meetups as well. So floor is open, but I don't see any hands going up. So I'm going to assume we're all good for now, which is fine. That's all good because we're also pretty close to time, I think. So in that case, speaking of people speaking, there is a call for speakers for next month. So it'll probably be around the same date as this one, but next month, I think it's like the 3rd Wednesday of the month or something like that. It'll come up on Meetup. I'll set it up pretty soon. We just got to find an in-person location for it. So yeah, it will be in person, Mary, most likely. If not, I'll let you know, and it'll turn into a Zoom if I can't manage to get it in person in time. But that's open for anybody who'd like to speak, or if there's anybody that you would like to speak as well. Like if you've seen a cool project, or you know of somebody in Sydney who you think has a lot of good knowledge to share, and you'd really like to find out more about it, let me know. Oliver is keen to talk. I'm keen for you guys to give your expertise as well. So that would be cool. If anybody wants to, yeah, feel free to email me as well. I can get in touch with you, Oliver, because I already know how to get in touch with you, and we can organize that too. If you don't want to give a really big talk, but you just want to kind of have like a quick 5 minutes on a project or something you've done, feel free as well to let me know, and we'll try to arrange that. And if you've got devices, if anybody wants to bring devices to the next meetup, but there's something you're going to need, let me know as well ahead of time. If, say, you need so many PowerPoints or things like that, if you can bring power boards and stuff, so you've got sort of what you need, that would be helpful. But if you need help getting something, or there's something obscure that you might need that we'll need to help you with, let us know ahead of time, and we can see what we can do. Otherwise, that's it, everybody. You've been a wonderful audience, and it was really good to have everybody intro themselves and find out all about you all. Thank you for being here, and we're going to wrap up, and hopefully
thanks for organizing
I will see you in a month.
Yeah, thanks. That's great.
Thanks.
Really great.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
it's very
along.
interesting.
Great to meet you
Very
all.
cool.
So many different people too. It's like designers,
it's very cool.
devs, but also people like 3D artists and salespeople. It's very cool. It's a big mix.
Well,
exactly.
Nice to meet you all.
Don't
Look forward
forget to
to the next
share it
one.
around as well.
Yeah.
If you've got people would be really keen to kind of get involved, feel free to send them the link. And otherwise, we'll see you next month, everybody.
Great.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks then. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mary.